Dan, what do you think?
There, boy.
Yeah? Well, not your size.
He needs 8-5.
Oh, yeah. I got one. I have a question, though. What do you think so far of the park?
I hate it. Your gap sucks. I wish it was a curb high like every other park. I wish the flat bar was a worse height. Yeah, it's fun. I like that you don't really have to push. I like that. Here's my only qualm with the whole park. You showed up. I like it. I don't like the bump rail though.
He's so nice to me. Well, Dan just hates shit. Dude.
What the fuck?
Here, come into the sun, move your arm up if you can. Dude.
That literally happened 2 seconds ago. It's already like that. I pre-mowed on my belly. See? That's what I get for trying big spins. I said a tail. I'm like.
Nah, that's what you get for talking shit to me immediately when you get.
Well, you're just not sick nasty. Oh man. Yeah, I might be done.
Damn, dude. You ain't done. You're 35, you ain't done. So something that I've been working on too is kick flips out of banks. I mean, specifically today, I kind of just started toying around with this, but this is something that I skipped throughout skating. And I feel like this has been a pattern throughout all of my skating is I try to overcompensate everything with just jumping on big rails. Or big rails for what were big to me and bigger at the time. I skipped over like really learning how to kickflip out of banks. And I mean, yeah, I can kickflip out of banks, but there's a certain way that people do it where the kickflip really floats up to their feet. Like they actually jump in the air and then when they flick, people even do this on flat ground, but when they flick, the board will still be sucking up to their feet. Like they'll still be raising in the air when they do this. That's something that I want to learn out of banks. I mean, anyone can rocket flip out of a bank and land on the board, you know, the flick and pray scenario, but it's like, it's a whole nother thing because you have to relearn the timing. You have to relearn timing in 2 areas with your flick and with, you know, your snap. Like you have to press down extra hard and, you know, ollie first and wait a little bit before you flick the board. And you have to be delicate with it too. You have to be a little bit more like lighter. You have to be lighter when it's weird because you have to intuitively know when to be lighter and when to apply more pressure on the board. But that's what I'm toying around with now. So I'm gonna try and see how close we can get to what I'm thinking here. Yeah, it's fucking weird. It's just, I don't know, yeah, the timing. I gotta toy around with it. Oh. It wasn't terrible, but was not what I was hoping for. I mean, I'm happy that the board leveled out. I know that it at least leveled out. I'm not sure if it dipped or not.
I think he just has to close the gap between the board and his feet. Even if it's mob, if the board sucks up to your feet, I think it looks fine.
No. Front foot catch. Not what we want. Oh, like that.
Yeah, like that.
But just apply that's what I mean when I say apply less pressure when you need to, because that was a situation where I should have applied a little less pressure on the flick.
It's better.
That was crazy.
Yeah, but at least it stayed close to your feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want. I just have to figure out how to not I'm having a hard time getting my foot away because I'll just have way too much pressure on the flick. You know, you need to get it to stick to your foot, but you also need to know when to have less pressure so the board can actually do the flip and not get stuck to your toe. That's what happens to me a lot. And then the board will kind of do this shifty start to backside flip thing. Weird thing to figure out. Oh, I don't know.
It's like watching Back to the Future 3. It's a sequel, but we're digressing. We're backtracking.
Man, with the exception of the Tic Tac, I feel like that might have been the better one.
Yeah, that's definitely the best one.
All right, we're getting closer. I did that, but it wasn't level, but I get the idea. You wanna know what's really interesting is that
was another dainty side flick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah. You straight when I say ollie north kick it, I mean kick through the board and let your toe point down instead of
crazy. I felt like I was doing
You're going
that.
like this off to the side.
Oh. It's funny because I feel like when I was younger, the way I learned to skate, which I feel like kids don't do this now, which is why they're so good, is because when I would try and skate, I only put so much thought into my tricks, and I kind of thought a lot of it was just left up to chance. And if I just did X number amount, or if I tried it long enough, eventually I would get it. But I find myself now that I'm older, just within the last like 10 years, putting much more thought into my tricks and like being more aware of like how I'm doing something, rather than just like, just try it enough times and you'll eventually get it.
Yeah, like planning what your lock-in's gonna be, planning where your flick is, instead of just being like, I'm trying kickflip.
Right, exactly. Oh!
There you go.
You're right.
Of course I'm right.
Was that it?
Yeah. I told him to flick an ollie north.
Was that as good as I felt like it was?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, that all like made sense, because what I did was trick my brain into thinking that I was gonna try an ollie north, and then once I started to flick my foot, I was like, try to do a kickflip now.
There you go.
And it fucking worked.
Yeah, you got him now.
What?
You got him now.
Was that good, or it felt bad?
No, it's good.
Okay. How's that?
That was your best one.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's 3 in a row.
I'm just trying to think, Zach. I know I'm a long ways away, but
You're like literally not even in the same ballpark, not even the same sport. You're literally in a hockey rink on the other side of Nebraska.
how's that?
That was decent. It's 4 in a row.
So at first those really weren't working. It just wasn't clicking. And then once Dan said to do an ollie north and then kickflip, it made all the sense. And I had to like kind of trick my brain into, you know, approaching it like I was gonna do an ollie north and then last second decide to flick. And it really worked. I've never been able to do that. I just didn't understand it when people would explain to me. I would ask them how are you doing that? How are you getting it to level out? And they would say, you gotta get it to stick to your foot. But I was still flicking way too early. I would try to get it to stick to my foot, but for whatever reason, I couldn't understand the timing. And until Dan explained to me, like, do an ollie north and then flick, then I was like, oh, okay. Because when you break it down like that and you try the ollie north first and then kickflip, it automatically delays your trick, because in your mind, you're already thinking 2 tricks. So that worked for me. I mean, you just saw me figure it out in like 10, 15 minutes. So if you're struggling with this concept as well, give that a try.